Hello, everybody. This is James Diboe, Discovering, dedicated to original peoples, as always. And we've got a special guest in. We go back to Booker T, Professor Kaba. How you doing, my brother? Great to have you on episode 2.
Yes, brother. Thank you so much for the opportunity, particularly to speak to my family in the UK and in the environs around the world, brother, because I know you have a worldwide audience. So thank you for this opportunity to have this conversation.
I appreciate, brother. This is the Melanin Connection, and the topic is melanin. And, I was watching you on Hidden Colors speaking about melanin and many other topics, and this is powerful. One of my favorite documentaries. Also seeing you on another documentary, let's go, Heavy as the Crown.
Yes, man.
And the other one was, what was the other one called?
Out of Darkness?
Out of Darkness, that's it, yeah. Now, if we begin now, we'll just briefly touch on the Out of Darkness and then Heavy as the Crown.
Yes.
You explain what was the whole purpose? I mean, it was a brilliant documentary, really going deep into the African spirituality, creation stories, what they really meant. And also, this all ties into melanin anyway. So if you just give us a brief introduction on those documentaries you did.
Yes, man. Out of Darkness, I was approached by the brilliant filmmaker, Amadeus Christ. And he had asked me if I'd be willing to be a part of a project that he had, Out of Darkness. And he asked me if I would be willing to be the narrator for it. And out of that conversation, we developed an understanding of the African worldview. And there were so many different topics that we covered in Out of Darkness, meaning that we as a people are coming out of the darkness. Another term that we use, which is very popular now, is called woke. Because when you're woke, you came out of the darkness.
Yeah.
You're no longer asleep. And the darkness is the lack of knowledge of self. And when you come up out of that darkness, you then come to light, which is knowledge and wisdom and understanding and application of that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And so there was such a phenomenal response to Out of Darkness. Brother Amadeus Christ did Heavy as the Crown. And in Heavy as the Crown is an examination of the original story, the original drama of life, which is the Assyrian drama that came out of Africa. And it went across the globe. And everywhere that you have religions, at the base of it is the Assyrian drama that the African, traveling across the globe, brought with them and created a foundation of philosophical understanding. So be it agnostic, atheist, Buddhist, Christianity, Rosicrucian, Hebrewism, whatever it may be, Zoroastrian, from Rosicrucian, from A to Z, brother. All of those concepts came out of Africa, and at the base is the Assyrian drama. And the question that comes out of that is soul salvation. Everything you do in life, what happens after life? But in my book, Shabaka Stone, our ancestors were even deeper than that, because they said, not only do we want to study life, not only do we want to understand the afterlife, but we want to study what existed before existence existed. What about before life? So they studied the before life, life, and the afterlife. And that was the Osirian drama. And what Amadeus Christ did in a most brilliant way, because he's a graphic artist. So it just wasn't about interviewing people. He created graphic signs that never existed before. He took the knowledge, took it to the next level. In other words, he took it to the level of Medunetta in our time. Hieroglyphics in our time. And that's what those two films were about. And I was really very happy to be a part of it. There's going to be other sequels to that too, because he did a lot of research.
Yeah.
So there'll be a part 2 coming out soon too,
And
of Heavy is the Crown.
a lot of great guests on there also,
Oh man, the
definitely.
scholars that were on there, they were my teachers.
Yeah.
From Dr. Wade Nobles, James Small, you know, brother out of Atlanta, Chika Akua.
Chika Akor. Yeah.
I mean, some scholars out there that got this information down to a T, man. And when I saw it, man, it was just because he sent me, a copy for to view, and I watched it 4 times. The first time I watched it just to be very particular about what I was looking at, any errors that were made, critiques that I could make. The second time I read it, the second time I watched it, I wanted to listen to the music to see how the music was compatible with the visual.
Yeah.
The third time I watched it to be able to just understand, putting it all together, what the impact would be for someone else. So the third time I watched it as if I was somebody else that had
Yeah.
no idea about the film, how it was.
Well,
And then
funny
the fourth
enough,
time I watched it, brother, I watched it simply to enjoy it.
yeah. Well, funny enough, when I first went on the internet, YouTube to put it on, the title said Out of Darkness, then underneath Heavy as the Crown. So I was a bit confused where these are two separate documentaries, aren't they?
Yes, they are, but no, they're not. Heavy as the Crown is another
Oh,
continuation of Outer Darkness.
right. Okay. Okay. So the one I must have watched then, it was about creation stories. There was all the greats that you just mentioned that were on it. So I was wondering, like, I thought I would see two separate titles, but it said Out of Darkness and then Heavy is the Crown on the title. So
Yes.
I wasn't sure exactly. Am I watching? Could you how many is the two, three?
Yeah, yeah, there's two. Outer Darkness is the first one where I'm a narrator in it.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one I must have watched then. Out of
The,
Darkness.
the second one is an extension of Outer Darkness, but it's subtitled Heavy as the Crown.
Did it say Out of Darkness on it as well on the second one?
I don't know, but if you should just tap into Heavy as the Crown, it should come to you.
I'll come back on that anyway, yeah. But anyway, it was powerful, and I really felt you really went in depth, really
Yeah.
in depth, because I'm always looking for these type of creation stories. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's like some people just scratch the surface on spirituality, and then I felt this was really getting in depth of what these creation stories meant, the afterlife,
Yes, yes.
and understanding energy, what I'm saying. So now we can deal with
Tell
our
me, brother,
topic.
have you heard of the
Sorry,
book called 16 Crucified Saviors?
I have not heard that one. No.
Check that book out, brother. 16 Crucified Saviors. The author is Kersey Graves, Kerseygraves.
Okay, tell us that name again. Sorry.
The title of the book is 16 Crucified Saviors,
16 crucified saviors.
and it's by Kersey Graves. K E
KC.
R
Yeah.
Kersey
SEY.
Graves.
KC Gray.
Graves, Graves.
Oh, Graves. Okay, I'll look out for
If you
that one.
like, I mentioned it because you say you like creation stories.
Yeah.
What Kersey Graves did is he took the different creation stories, savior stories around the world, from Zoroastry to Buddhism to the Osirian drama. And what he did is that he showed how all of them came out of Africa.
Right. Okay. Made the
And this was
connections.
years ago now. You're dealing with years ago this book was written.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is an old book. So
Mm,
it's not like it was just written currently.
yeah.
16 crucified saviors. And he tells 16 different stories.
Wow.
And all of them reflect back to the Osirian drama.
Wow. Looking forward to that anyway. I'll definitely check that out.
Check it
And
out, brother.
yeah. So we got a melanin today anyway. Powerful topic. Like I said, I watched it on Hidden Colors. and the many different documentaries I've watched about melanin.
Yes.
And if we begin with melanin, I'm assuming that we're dealing with the essence. We're dealing with the essence, not just as in who we are, who basically we're dealing with the cosmos, I'm imagining, and a whole lot more, the universe.
Yeah.
We go from the beginning.
Yes, man. Well, you see, years ago, I went to a lecture series in New York. And this was in 1981. I was a young teacher at the time. I was teaching kindergarten. And I went to the lecture series, and there was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Richard King that was doing a presentation on melanin, human photosynthesis. And when I went there, he was talking about melanin. Now, I had heard about melanin in the early 70s from Dr. Frances Cress Welsing.
Oh, yeah, great scholar. Yeah.
But I never really focused on it because her topic was something other than melanin. She just happened to mention melanin in the presentation. But when I went here, Dr. Richard King was talking about melanin, and a lot of us had not heard that word before. I had heard it, but I was a little bit, I'm trying to figure out what it means. And he saw he saw that we were kind of not understanding. And he said, okay, brothers and sisters, let me say it to you like this. If you can understand plant photosynthesis, then you can understand human photosynthesis, because the chlorophyll molecule is to the plant as the melanin molecule is to the human. And when he said that, it clicked, because I was teaching kindergarten. I was teaching 5-year-olds. I was a kindergarten teacher at this time. And when I went back to class on Monday, and by the way, I bought he was selling 2 Xerox copies. He called it the Black Dot. I bought both of them, and I brought them a little bit too heavy for me, so I put it away. But I decided to teach a class on plant photosynthesis with my 5-year-olds. And we got little milk cartons, and I brought in seeds, and I brought in dirt, because that's how you teach plant photosynthesis to children in school. And so, about a week and a half, that's how long it took to do the plant photosynthesis. I put it, we all put our little plants up on the windowsill. And then I went back and studied his work. And when I studied melanin, the black dot, that blew my mind, brother. And from that point on, I've been doing research. I did lesson plans on it. I've been teaching it. I've taught it to every grade. I've taught it to I've used many different subjects in it. And so I said, I'm going to write a book. So I wrote a book. And
this is the book then?
Called Carbon Before Melanin.
Carbon Before Melanin. Okay.
Before. Now, the reason why it's called that is because I was going to Dr. Sebi from 1988.
Wow, Sebi.
And yeah, Dr. Sebi. And I invited him to come to one of my presentations I was doing on melanin in Brooklyn, New York. And he came. And when I went back to the Usha Herbal Institute, where he was, I said to him, Dr. Sebi, what you think? He said, very interesting, Booker T. He said, but Booker T, you're always talking about melanin. I hear everybody talking about melanin. It was carbon before melanin. And he said, you got to focus on carbon. Because when you understand carbon, then you can scientifically understand melanin. And so over the years, I've been writing, teaching about melanin, and developing my curriculums, my methods, my research. And I studied some of the most brilliant scholars that have written on melanin. And I brought them all together in this book, brother.
Now, how old is this book? Is this the newest book you're bringing out?
It just came out.
Just came out now. Okay.
Yes, I just published it yesterday. Yesterday was my father's birthday.
Wow.
And it's up on Amazon now.
Okay. look forward to that one. Definitely ordering
And
a copy.
this book is revolutionary because, brother, they're not going to teach you this.
Yeah.
We have to come to that point right now. They're not going to teach us about the melanin molecule and what it really does.
Yeah.
Because to do that, they would have to talk about, it's not about superiority and inferiority. It's not about good and bad. It's not about the best and the worst. It's in science, it's about dominant and recessive. It's about the dominant gene and the recessive gene.
So when we
And
say dominant, obviously what we call the black race, the African race, our genes are much more dominant.
yes.
And obviously with the lighter you are, the white race, they would be considered as like a mutation.
Yes. But you see, the other thing, brother, that we always have to keep in mind is that melanin is a master molecule in your body. There's a part in the book where I talk about embryology, of how a human being comes into existence after the egg, the mother's egg, is fertilized by the father's spermatozoon, the sperm. And it becomes what is known, well, it first becomes a zygote, then it becomes a blastula. But the blastula comes in, it's three areas. It's the ectoderm on the outside, the mesoderm in the middle, and the endoderm in the very inside. The ectoderm is born out of blackness. It has the neuromelanin. There's something known as the neural crest and the neural tube that becomes the brain of an infant, of a fetus. The brain is formed from it. The spinal cord, the spinal column, all of your organs and glands are born out of this beginning of blackness. Everybody, no matter what your cultural background is, you're born in blackness.
Yeah.
The skin happens to be an organ. It's the largest organ in your body. You have glands, you have organs. Melanin is in every gland and every organ in your body. Without melanin in your eyes, you wouldn't see, in the retina. Without melanin in your ears, you wouldn't hear. Without it on your tongue, you wouldn't taste. And so the way in which I approach the work is not from a superiority. This book is good for anybody. Anybody, any culture need to read this book. Everybody is an African, Brother James.
That's true. Yeah.
Every human is an African. And you go from melanated to less melanated. But everybody's got melanin. It's not the melanin that's important. It is your ability to produce it. And in melanated people, you have the melanocyte, which is the cell, the melanin cell. Inside the cell, you have melanosomes, which do the work. And inside the melanosome, the organelle, you have the melanin molecule. It is the amount of enzymes in the melanosome that determines how much melanin you're going to produce. And so while folk of African descent go from well melanated, because I don't believe there's such a thing as complexion. Either you're melanated or you're less melanated.
Yeah.
You're pigmented or you're less pigmented, but there's no such thing as being dark skinned.
So see an albino, for example, African people, we have albinos in Africa.
Yes.
So with an albino, even though whether or not he has the African features, obviously he has less melanin. Now, is that down to we will still consider it recessive?
Yes, but when you're looking at an albino, you're really looking at the system of the human body known as the integumentary, which is the outside. Everything on your outside, your fingernails, your skin, everything outside you is called the integumentary. So
Yeah.
when you're looking at an albino, you'll notice that they have like almost pinkish eyes,
Yeah.
the lack of melanin in the eye. And then their skin, their hair sometimes is almost stark white,
Yeah.
platinum color looking hair.
That's
And
right.
that's a lack of melanin. But the point is that we people on Earth come in varying pigmentations. Even African people.
That's it. Yeah.
You can go to parts of Africa where there are different complexions of people.
Like the Khoisan.
Look, yes, the Khoisan is like what's called potato chip brown,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
then you have what might be called, I don't like to call them this, but the Bantu, and the
Yeah.
Bantu are very melanated.
That's right. Yeah.
You can go up to Ethiopia and the complexion is more of a brownish
That's it.
complexion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of it has to do with your relationship to the sun.
That's it.
There's a
Yeah.
section in my book where I talk about what makes hair kinky and nappy. And again, it goes back to the sun, your relationship to the sun. And so this is why in the book, Carbon Before Melanin, there's a section, there's a chapter on carbon. But then I also introduce concepts as it relates to the sun, the plant life, botany. Because, brother, we got to teach this to our children.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard it said, Malcolm once said, who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair, your width of your nose, the size of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself? You didn't learn that in Africa.
Yeah.
You
That's
were
right.
taught that.
Yeah.
Ain't no Africans hate themselves because they African. Okay.
So yeah, so like I was saying, I'm very interested in what you're saying about melanin and that. And also, there's a couple of things I want to touch on as well. One, the level of intelligence with having melanin and obviously the benefits of it. Also connected to nature more so. And one more other thing as well is the hair texture, the coil.
Yeah.
So I was reading something about the spiral. I was reading about the spiral shape anyway. It's like a connection. An antenna, more like antenna are here. The more it curls, the more tight it is.
Well, you know what's interesting in my research of sebum, which is the oily, waxy substance. When you get into your dermis, you have something, you have glands that secrete liquids, like when you
Yeah.
sweat. In your sebaceous gland, you have an oily, waxy substance that's known as sebum, sebum. And sebum comes in packets in your hair follicle. And you have hair all over your body. You have a whole bunch on your head. And the sebum is released and it travels up the hair follicle and it rests on your head. Now, in the early human beings, when they began to shed their hair, and then they started to get melanated skin to protect them, and also for heat loss, it was very important to get a heat loss system in place. And when the sebum connected with the hair follicle, it kinked it. It created an elliptical shape. And the hotter the weather, the more sebum was produced and the kinkier the hair. So it became a crown. It became a protective covering over the head so that the organism wouldn't get cancer from the hot sun. And so in this kink, in this nap, curl, as this African moved away from the sun, the oil wasn't burnt off like it was when it was hot. So the oil was allowed to remain on the hair follicle. And when it remained on the hair follicle, it lessened the kink, the nap, and it turned straight.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
also began to lose its black to dark brown color as it moved north. I'm talking about as it moves into Europe and Asia and in the cold climate above the 51st parallel. I have a chapter in the book that deals with exactly what happened so our family can understand. And so what happened is that as they moved away from the heat of the sun and then got into an ice age, the oil remained on the hair and pulled it down. And that's what creates straight hair.
Wow. I mean, like you just said about even like in Asia as well, India, China, you know, as much as the massive population of India. Now, I'm aware of there was like indigenous black people in India, like the Andaman Islands, places like that, and other tribal areas, but you might see some of them in the south of India, very Africoid features, but the
Yes,
hair might be straight. Same with
yes,
Aboriginal Australians. Some of them have tight hair, and then some of them are very loose hair, but they
yes,
still have the Africoid features.
yes, exactly. And you
Mm,
have Europeans that have very kinky hair
yeah, that's
because we're
interesting.
all
Yeah,
African family.
yeah,
They have a serious mental problem. They being those who would wish to oppress the melanated people.
yeah.
They have a very serious mental problem. That's not our problem. Our problem was that we saw them as human beings and treated them as such.
That's
And
right. Yeah.
and then when they learned, they turned what they learned on us. They're the one with the problem.
It's almost like an attack, like whether they know it or not. And I know a lot of things come down to insecurities, but it's
Yeah,
like everywhere I go, travel, there's so much traces of trying to keep the original people, the original melanated peoples of different lands around the planet, keep them down, and many ways keep them down. So you could even go as far as we could even start with religion if you wanted to start there. The whether it's Abrahamic religions. Now I understand it all traces back to African people, spirituality, but at the same time, it seems like everything seems an attack on the original. So the original teachings, the original people, the original complexions, the original history, you know. So now it's almost like people write books like whether it's a Bible or like whether it's a Quran or whether it's a Torah, wherever we go, there's always people got their stories. But the greatest story not really told is the attack on original peoples. And I'm talking about from a vast planetel, from the planet, basically. And that story is not being fully told. We've got scholars who wrote big books on these things, but it's never been told where everybody can kind of agree on it from getting more people to be able to see, especially our own people, to see that there's an attack on us, whether we know it or not, and everything original. I mean, look at today, all the technology, for example, it seems like everything is nothing we want to deal with is nature, natural. It's all like attacking nature as well, not just even attacking us, attacking the environment. And we are a part of that environment. And we are one with nature from the beginning. So when you destroy nature, you're destroying people, you're destroying humanity. But the people, like, if you look at people who live the most ancient traditional ways, it's usually always melanated peoples. Now, when you get Europeans who connect with nature, they have to go to the melanated environments. It's like, for example, sometimes you get yoga teachers. You got them in the UK. I'm sure you got some in America, got whatever. But you might have like certain white people become more spiritual because they travel to these places. They come back, maybe they set up like courses or they set up, whether it's for their own use or doing it financially for the benefit. And even like, for example, I forgot the woman's name. She used to go to Egypt and she was very mystic. She was,
you
I
talking about
think
Helen Blavatsky?
that's it. Yeah, that's her name. Now they all had to go to Egypt, India, other melanated places to really get this knowledge and be in tune with it. And
Yes.
that's what's even so interesting. And it's almost like we're not given the credit for it, even though they'll go to all these melanated countries.
You know what's interesting about you raising Helene Blavatsky? She wrote a book called Isis Unveiled, and she wrote a number of books. But you know, she was impacted by a black man by the name of Pascal Randolph Beverly.
Okay.
See, when we understand history, brother, we understand certain things. Pascal Randolph Beverly was a brother from New York in the United States who studied mysticism
Mm.
before anybody else was doing it. And he then traveled around the world and he started studying and started teaching. And one of his students was Helene Blavatsky.
Wow.
Helene Blavatsky traveled to Tibet in India
Oh, yeah.
and studied the spiritual systems
Yes. Yeah.
that you're speaking of. Now, here's what's interesting. She comes back to Europe. She's a Russian. She returns to Europe and she starts to teach. She starts to write. And there was a young military soldier that studied the work and saw the symbols that she brought back from Buddhism and from all of the ancient faith systems that this black man, Pascal Randolph Beverly, had introduced her to. This young military individual studied it, and he decided he was going to create a movement. And he was going to take the symbol of the elliptical galaxy, of the yin and the yang. He was going to take the symbol of the law of complements, of ma'at, of balance, and he was going to emblazon it on the uniforms of the soldiers, on the flags of the soldiers, carve it on the walls of their buildings. And I'm talking about Adolf Hitler. So you see, Brother James, how he took something that was sacred and he dirtied it.
Yeah.
And that's what it seems they've done with many religions.
Yeah.
They stole our religion. When you look at the Assyrian drama, when you look at the work of our ancestors that they have developed, they stole our thing and contaminated it with their inferiority and insecurity.
Yeah.
And then they took our spiritual systems and made them into religions, and that became like gangs. So, Brother James, as we sit today and talk right now, the world is at war.
Yes.
And it's all about religions.
Yeah.
Think about that.
That's right. Yeah, it is.
And the three major religions that are fighting each other come from the same Abrahamic system.
Yeah.
Christian against Jew, Jew against Muslim, Muslim against Christian. But that's all their contaminatedness of what they did to our pure system.
Yeah.
And that's what my second book, Shabaka Stone, is about.
Okay, Shabaka Stone.
It's the basis of the actual spiritual system that would bring forward an Abrahamic concept from Indo-Europeans that sat at the feet of Africans.
Yeah. And when we say Indo-Europeans, some people might just study the European from the time of the transatlantic slave trade as if there was no connection before that. We can go back to Rome. We can go back to even further that, past the Greeks, the Assyrians, to even other Indo-Europeans, ones that even invaded India 1500 BC, and then put in the Hindu caste system. And there was no actual Hindu religion before that. There's times when they used to invade ancient China, when the Chinese were more melanated. Now,
that's right.
People are not following.
The first dynasties of China.
Yeah.
The Shang dynasty, the Tang, those are all Africans.
That's it.
Those are Kushites. In fact, many of them were Twa and Bhuti. That's why they're short stature.
Short stature, yeah.
And they brought their systems. And then you had a Kushite general by the name of Ganges, who brought in and created the city of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro in Pakistan and India.
The river Ganges or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
The river's named after him. the
Yeah.
Ethiopian, the Cushite. And then you had African Cushites that took South Koreans onto the islands and met other African Ainu people there, and that's who the Japanese are.
It's mad how funny enough, like the way, like I said before, we haven't actually got something there that, like, the way people wrote religions, you predict things and show you past life events. That's all I'm saying. We haven't got nothing there. Like, I mean, like I said, we've got our historians, but nothing's there where to impact the planet, where they can all realize that, wow, this is a real story, what melanated people have been through, where we've actually contributed to their civilizations, their spirituality, the making of religions. And it's just like we're not giving no credit. But don't get me wrong, the planet ain't over yet. It's going to be like a 360 where people eventually are going to be begging to know African history. They're going to be so much, it's going to be so much of a demand soon. So when people like yourself, you're going back to a long time, doing all your studying, researching, same with like Professor Smalls and other people's, and use basically ahead of time on this as well, where people are going to be watching your videos, whether it's 30 years, 50 years time, and they're going to be like gold, platinum, to see like these people were studying these things many years ago, because like when things become commercialized, and I can see it where it is growing African history, but it's just who has the control over it. As
Mhm.
long as like we realize how important it is to us, our younger generations and their generations, because otherwise it's going to be everybody else taking over that movement. But when it's their movement, it's not about it's not anybody's movement. It's just truth and
Yeah.
facts, and to understand history from thousands of years ago. You can
Mhm.
go back further, but just dealing with civilization periods, who paved the way
Yeah.
to the making of all these things that we're looking at today,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. There is no question. And again, this is why I do what I do
Yeah,
in terms of writing my books. I don't write books because I'm a writer. Because to me, Brother James, I feel more comfortable speaking than I do writing. But
same
I
with
do write.
myself. Yeah, I'm like that myself. Yeah,
I do write because I have something to say. And I also write like so many of our great leaders and educators did before. You may not be doing it for the generation you're living in.
yeah, yeah,
You're doing it for generations that are yet to come
yeah,
because they will have a better understanding of what you're saying in the future compared to what you're experiencing in the present. Bob Marley has a song where he say, "A king is never honored in his own land."
okay,
And
yeah,
that's what happens. I don't take it personal, Brother James. Our people have been through a ma'afa. They've been through a terroristic disaster. They hurt. They have been diminished as human beings. In order to control us, they made us hate our hair. They made us hate our skin color,
yeah.
not realizing that it is that very skin color and hair texture that allowed the human family to survive in the heat that would bring forward the future generations.
Even the old depictions, like the old Buddhas, black,
Yes,
nappy hair,
yes,
all that,
yes.
yeah. Hinduism, like the Krishna, black one.
That's it. See, because and now generations later are appreciating what happened in the past, just like one day they will tune into the work that you're doing
Yeah,
as you speak to the different scholars.
that's
And
it.
they'll say, wow, that brother was on to something back then.
Yeah,
But we're not ahead of our time. The times are behind the times.
that's right. Yeah,
We should be far further along the line in our
definitely.
development as a people. We're
Yeah.
spending all of our capital, all of our economics on war instead of getting our people together and making the earth the heaven it was meant to be. Our ancestors did not create the earth for us to have to struggle like this.
Totally.
Nobody should ever have to worry about, am I going to eat tonight? Do I have a roof over my head? Do I have the proper clothing to wear? Am I safe walking in my community? We should not have to be going through this. This
That's
is
right.
not what creators on earth are supposed to go through. But there is demonic forces that are scared that they will lose power because all they want to do is control you. They want to contain you. They want to dominate you because they feel inferior. They feel insecure to their own personhood. So in order to feel better about themselves, they have to put other people down. African people understood, Brother James, that if you're doing good, and if I can help you do good, you do better, but I go along with you and I'm doing good too.
Yeah, yeah,
If you do good, I do good.
yeah, and vice
It's
versa.
not like if you do good, oh, I'm jealous and envious.
Yeah, yeah,
And again, I go back to Bob Marley and his music. You know, when he talks about envy and jealousy and all the things that are destroying us as a people.
yeah.
But this knowledge of self, we must do this work. We must. And this is why I was so happy to take your invitation to come on and to talk to our community, to help
Appreciate.
them understand you're a
Yeah,
great people, no matter what they say about you.
yeah,
If you know your history, you know how great you are. You know
that's
what
right.
you've done. You know what your parents have done and your grandparents have done. Yeah, okay, so we got some situations. We really do. But considering what we've been through, the fact we still here, we're a miracle.
That's a miracle. You're right.
We've been through some stuff. When you study our history, what has
Mm,
happened to us as a people, and yet still we can come together and have this type of fellowship. It's a miracle, James.
definitely, definitely.
It's a phenomenal experience.
From UK to US, just,
Yeah,
that's right.
that we could connect this way. This is just phenomenal. You know, and what Marcus Garvey was doing the same thing, but he didn't have Zoom.
Yeah, that's it.
And so we're just continuing the legacy of the greatness of our people.
For me to contact you or you to contact me by telephone, maybe over 30 years ago, costed a lot of money.
Yeah,
And we're only talking over the phone,
yeah,
you know. Now, I'm interested in what you said before about demonic forces.
yes.
Now, when we say demonic forces, would you say this is demonic forces from entities out of our visible light that are manipulating humanity? Or would you say it's down to the environment of what, especially the Indo-Europeans, how they were living? They wasn't around the greatest nature. So when we say demonic forces, is it more of a phrase, or are we talking about entities manipulating humanity?
I use the term demonic forces so we could understand what is evil.
Right.
But the evil forces dwell within us.
That's right. Yeah.
Every human being is born with a Judas and a Messiah.
Ah,
We are born with the entity that tries to destroy us and the entity that tries to resurrect us.
okay.
And life is about the battle. You know, when I was growing up, they used to always have these commercials where the devil was on one shoulder and the saint was on the other. And they're both talking to you, trying to get you to do things.
Well, Islam kind of have something like that. I remember I was speaking to the Muslim, you saying like one shoulder is like a bad angel kind of thing, and the other shoulder is like a good angel.
Yes,
So
but
sort of,
it's a symbol though for what's inside. In the Asarian drama, you have the Scythian forces or Set, who is the evil brother, and you
yeah.
have Asar,
Ah,
who is the good brother. And then Asar's son is Heru, who is his father reborn. Evil destroys good, but is reborn through the son. And so when I look at things, we all have that evil in us. We all know that.
yeah,
The
yeah.
question is, are you going to entertain it?
Right. So it's already built within us. And
Yes,
people talk about like religion, say God and the devil.
yes,
So this is basically the battle within ourselves of
yes.
humanity. It's not
That's
a
it.
case of I mean, say when we talk about things out of our visible life, for example, on a spiritual level, would you see that like it's is it the unseen that's kind of playing a part in the role of mankind to be to get the good, the bad, or the forces of nature, we could call it?
It's all in us,
It's all in us. Okay, okay, yeah, yeah,
in each and every one of us.
yeah,
And in life, you make choices.
yeah. That's
And
right.
out of that comes your environment and the impact your environment has had on you.
That's right. Yeah, yeah,
And as you go through life, you make decisions. And everything is born within you, even before you were born. You were born with these forces that was
yeah.
in you. And in life, you make choices. You're either going to go the Scythian or the Judas. You're going to let Judas control you, or you're going to let the Messiah control you. But as human beings, Brother James, as we all know, uh, we all have the Judas in us. In my life, I have fallen and made errors, but the Messiah in me rises again.
Yeah,
And so in life, you make mistakes. That's what makes you human.
that's
You
right.
are the creator having a human experience.
Yeah,
And so that as you move through your life, you make errors because you're a human being.
that's right. Yeah,
But you always try to rise above it. You always let the Messiah. So what I say is Judas will fall down 9 times, but the Messiah will rise 10.
so when they said about the Christ consciousness,
Yes.
are we dealing with like you say, we like God having a human experience?
Yes.
Yeah. So with that is like when someone decides to come with the God and come with the devil. So it's like these two forces at war, and this is basically the war between humanity.
This is the war internally.
Yeah, not just actually humanity. Animals can be affected from this as well.
Oh,
And
yes, they
yeah,
can.
nature can be affected.
Yes. But you see,
Yeah,
nature, for the most part, most of nature acts according to their nature.
yeah,
Okay. When you see a wolf, nature has made it that that is a predator.
that's it.
Okay. That's just the nature. You have mosquitoes. Mosquitoes' nature is to live off the living. They don't have a life. Parasites don't have a life.
Mm,
Parasites' life is to live off the living. That's why they're going to try to get your blood.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay. So there's a nature in all things, because if the creator created everything, the creator also created those things that are not the very best for you.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. And what we're battling now is an internal battle. Like I tell people all the time, you can't love someone else if you don't love yourself.
Yeah. Totally.
You
Totally.
can't. You don't even know what love is. The first
Mm,
love is self-love, to love yourself. And then when I love myself on the creator level, then I see the creator in you.
yeah.
And then I can love you as my brother on a creator's level, because you are a reflection of me. Your create, like I say, the God in me welcomes the God in you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you can switch that around and look at criminals.
That's true.
And then the criminal in them embraces the criminal in the one that they're looking at.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that it is always good over evil, because my mother used to always say, there is no honor amongst thieves. When you are evil, you do not have honor amongst yourself. You can't trust each other.
Yeah.
But if there's an ultimate mer, or an ultimate love that humans have, there is a trust factor. Like I say, if I know that your betterment makes me better, it is in my interest to do whatever I can to help you, because as I help you, I'm helping myself.
That's right. Yeah.
The only competition I have is competition with me. When I went to bed last night, I invoked and prayed that I was a better person going to bed that woke up that morning. And I prayed that I would be a better person today than I was going to bed last night.
Yeah.
So my competition is not with another brother or sister. My competition is with me to become a better person every day, to
Every
do
day a
things
blessing.
during my day.
Yeah.
And if I could come and have fellowship with you and do something positive in your life, and for those that are listening to your program, if they can see two brothers having this type of program to make their life better, that's what life was meant to be.
Yeah.
As opposed to the opposite, which is tearing each other down.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
And so that's what I mean. I don't believe in an anthropomorphic God and an anthropomorphic devil. I don't believe that there's a God and there's a devil. I
Yeah.
believe that the evil and the good lies within us, and the paths that we choose to live by is what creates the heaven or the hell on earth. But
So
it
in the
starts with
yeah.
us.
So see in the beginning, do you believe in the creator in the beginning that well, and it doesn't have to be any kind of likeness, like what created the universe, create the planets, do you see anything like that of a creator? And when I say creator, that can mean a little different than the word God, because God has like it's like people put a label on God.
Well, creator is a word I like to use. I see our time is running out here, brother. So
Yeah,
let me just say this. The creator is an energy system
energy
that came
system.
up out
Yeah,
of the waters of Nun. It
yeah,
animates us. And that energy system is carbon. It is the mothership.
yeah,
My book is on Amazon. I always encourage folk to go to Amazon because it's much cheaper than me sending it. So if you're interested in my book, go to Amazon. Carbon Before Melanin is the name of my book, and
yeah.
it'll open up a whole new world for you to see.
I'm getting this book anyway. It's on my next list. And funny you mentioned the mothership because Elijah Muhammad spoke on the mothership.
Yes.
That was interesting.
Yes. It's
Um,
energy, brother. The mothership is energy.
Energy. Now, here's a
Yes.
question for you. I was having this little discussion with some people who I speak to regular, and I was just speaking about energy and spirit. Now, I was recognizing them as one and the same. Well, when I say one and the same, they go hand to hand. What would you say of the connection with energy and spirit? You see
It,
it?
it to me, it's one and the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was trying to explain this. Some people got it, some people just did not get it.
Yeah. And
But
it's possible because it's hard because when you've grown in a world that is trying to get you to believe that there's an anthropomorphic, a human being
yeah,
that you see, your father or your mother, the mother of God, the father of all. It's hard for you to sort of kind of change your way of looking at the world around you to see that you're talking about an energy level. You're,
yeah,
you're talking about a cosmic experience that created potential energy at rest, energized it, and created energy in motion, which is called kinetic energy.
mm,
And every day that you wake up, you're doing what the cosmos did in the beginning.
yeah,
When you go to bed, you go to sleep, you're in the waters of Nun.
yeah,
And then something happens to you that wakes you up. And that's like patah. And patah is the conversion of energy at rest to energy in motion, which is what wakes you up. And then when you wake up, you begin to realize, okay, I am who I am. This is what I got to do today. This is where I got to go, whatever it may be. That is atum, that then calls into being who you are as a person. But we're talking about a cosmos, and Nun, Ptah, and Atum really is the original Trinity. When we
yeah,
talk about the Trinity, the three gods in one, that's what it is. Nun is the matter, Ptah is the energy, and Atum is the consciousness.
right. Well, consciousness, that's a powerful one again, the consciousness, especially another one, like say when the ancestors pass away, when any of us pass away, and from a scientific perspective, for example, energy can never be destroyed. It's just might maybe change its form, but energy never dies. So when we pass away, when we give thanks to our ancestors, especially in the ancient traditions, we're not recognizing that. Would you say that we see it as like, the afterlife, dealing with the afterlife, or do you see the afterlife more as a metaphor, or do you see it as like you are going to come back into this world one day?
Well, I see, my concept as I see it is that there's no such thing as death.
Yeah. So when
Death is
you,
but another doorway to the eternal temple of immortality.
yeah,
And just like you have an afterlife, you also had a before life. Like you said, energy cannot be destroyed, but also energy cannot be created.
yeah, wow,
It
yeah,
exists. It
yeah,
always exists.
always exist.
And so the energy that we are, before we're born, we were around. But it just took our mommy and daddy to come together, and if I may say, have a big bang
Yeah,
that brought us into existence.
yeah,
And it was the merging of our daddy's spermatozoa soon, or the sperm cell, with mother's egg
yeah,
that, and meant to many of our ancestors, when you start looking at West African culture and spiritual systems, even in Central, well, Africa in general, there are many systems that believe when you were born, your spirit died. And it was put in this tomb we call a body. And then when your body dies, then your spirit is reborn.
yeah,
So that death to the African understood in nature. Look, my mother joined the ancestors and created when I was young.
okay,
As I move through my life, one day she and I will be together again.
yeah,
My father, same thing. One day we'll be together again. We'll be together in another form.
yeah,
Just like you have gas, liquid, and solid. They're all the same thing. Like when you
yeah,
have water, you can have condensation where water is gas, and then you can have it in liquid form, and then you can freeze it and you can have ice.
yeah,
It's all the same entity.
all the same, yeah, entity.
Okay. Now, let me tell you something else in science, and I had to go into forensic science to study this. When you die, your body decomposes. But as your body decomposes, there is a system of energy. Your carbon and your nitrogen are released. And that's what makes you decompose. Your energy, if you could see it, if you had the eye to see it and you saw a dead body, you'd actually see things rising up out of that body.
Yeah,
And that is what brought you in the earth was the carbon, and that then did the nitrogen that created your body. But in reality, when you die, you actually leave your body to another perspective. I remember when I was young watching cartoons, and like they had the cartoon character was supposed to die, and then you saw like a fainted same view of this individual coming up out of the body, and it had wings. Well, that's actually what happens
yeah,
from a scientific perspective. You don't die. You just move into another realm. And that's science. That's not a hocus pocus. That ain't Twilight Zone.
and the realm could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be what we see as Earth, or it
My
beyond.
thing is we don't know.
We
My
don't
thing is we
know.
don't know. But what I do know
Yeah,
is that you don't die.
yeah,
Now we're gonna miss our parents. We're gonna miss the people we love when they die. But
yeah,
the thing is, in time, I don't plan on going any place anytime soon. But in time,
yeah.
when it's my time to join the Creator and ancestors, we all gonna be back together again.
That's it.
And we're gonna know people we never knew in our physical life.
Yeah,
Because I mean, your great grandparents time 10, they go back 600 years. You didn't know them, but they dwell within you.
yeah,
So when you leave this earth, you all are going to be back together again
yeah.
under different circumstances.
That's right.
No
Yeah, yeah,
jealousy, no envy.
yeah,
That's what Dr. Martin Luther King meant when he said, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. And that was at his death. He
yeah.
became free.
Powerful. Powerful,
And
brother.
this is the ancestors. This is what the ancestors say. This is what the books I've written. I'm trying to get us to understand this, for us to understand what our ancestors did, realizing that everything was going to work itself out. And I want to tell the young people, I want them to understand it's going to be all right.
Yeah,
It's going to work itself out.
that's right. Yeah.
We got some stuff we got to go through, Brother James. But when all is said and done, it's going to be all right. And the earth is going to return back to its original ways of living its life.
Very interesting what you were saying then. That was really powerful information, what you were speaking on, as energy can't be destroyed, the ancestral realm. I'm sure you've seen that movie called Bill and Ted Bogus Journey.
Okay.
When they pass away and they want to come back, but he can come back into different bodies. And I mean, I'm looking at it from a perspective of like some things that like we could have ancestors visit us basically as in our physical now. It's like an energy, you recognize this energy, but it was your father's energy, uncle's energy, a close one, a close friend, or particularly the ancestors, especially like almost that energy is visiting you. And when you recognize that energy, you'll recognize, and this was the ancestor, especially the ancestors that especially, or you could have ancestors visiting you energetically, whether you met them in the physical or not.
The idea is that they're all within you.
All within you, yeah.
And again, going back to science, brother, you have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents. If I took you back 20 generations, at every generation being 25 years, I would take you back 500 years. If I took you back to the year 1524, the question is, how many ancestors came into existence to bring you into existence?
Plenty.
The number is 1,048,576.
Wow.
That's how many people came into existence. 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents. I call it E to the 3. That's the formula. It's math. This is not made up. 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents. If you go back 20 generations,
yeah,
it took 1,048,576 human beings to come into existence to bring you into existence.
That's right. Yeah, that's a lot.
That's how many people came into existence to bring you into existence. Now, let's look at how many people did not come into existence for you to come into existence.
Okay.
You know all of the millions upon millions of eggs that your mother had? All of the millions and millions of spermatozoon, sperm cells that your daddy had? And yet, when you were born, only 1 sperm met with 1 egg. So do you know how many millions of people did not come into existence?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you could come
Interesting.
into.
Yeah, totally.
So that when you stop and think about it, when you look at science and when you look at spirituality, each of us was born with a sacred divine mission to perform in life.
Yeah.
And that Judas in you is doing everything they can to make sure you don't do it. And the Messiah born in you is always reminding you, don't listen to him or to her.
Yeah.
Do your thing. You got to rise. Each of us was born with a purpose. And there was millions of people that came into existence to bring you into existence. And there was millions and millions of people that stepped to the side and said, no, no, no. Let James come in. He's got something he got to do. Let Kaba come in. He got something he got to do. Maybe we'll come in down the road. We've got millions of years to come into existence.
So pretty much your mission is already pre-planned before you existed. And when we
Yes,
say existed, I mean existed in this physical realm.
yes, yes. And the divine purpose is not necessarily to become a computer analyst or
Yeah,
a
yeah,
doctor
yeah,
or a lawyer. It is something that is esoteric. It is something that is spiritual to the nature of the betterment of nature and the world.
yeah.
You may do it through medicine. You may do it through computers. You may do it as a nurse or even a male person. But whatever it is, you were born to do it. And only
Interesting.
you can do it. And so
Yeah,
every time you miss your calling,
yeah.
somebody else has to come in to make up for what you didn't do.
So this is where I can see a lot of ideas have gone into as well, not just Abrahamic religions, into Buddhism, Hinduism, Zoroastrian, Confucianism, and many more areas we can go into. But I can see with all these ideas, well, most of these ideas have came out of, a lot of things in the Nile Valley, and not just the Nile Valley, all of Africa, the Dogon people, you
Mhm.
know, the Yoruba people, and many other people from Ghana, Congo, whatever. And then because Egypt's so well documented, it kind of might be easier for people to make sense out of these stories a lot more. Now, I mean, I've met a lot of indigenous peoples, like, who not necessarily might have a writing system, but they do have that a form of communication, But
Oral
like,
tradition.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's why I think it's interesting because I mean, there's a lot of focus and a lot of information we can get from Kemet, and also we can see it several places in the world, but we can recognize that Kemet is a lot earlier than anywhere outside of Africa. You know,
Ifa of West Africa.
Ifa, yeah,
There's a
oh,
lot of recordings. You can go to India amongst
yeah,
the Madras.
mm,
They have stories. You can go to ancient civilization to peoples in the Philippines,
that's right.
Cambodia, Vietnam. They have stories.
Yeah,
They know. It's been handed down
mm,
and it's there. But more importantly than that, it's inside of you. You were born with that information. It's called the Akashic Records. You were
yeah.
born with that cosmic encyclopedia inside of you. All you have to do is shine the light. You know, it's like, brother, if we turned off all the lights and you couldn't see anything. And then all of a sudden you found the light switch and you turned the light on, you saw the table and the chairs and the paintings on the wall and all the things that's in the room. My question to you is, did all those things appear in the room when you turned the light on? No, your light just wasn't on.
Yeah.
So when you find the light switch of your consciousness, you'll see that you know everything. You've got all the answers.
And also it's
Anyone
not
who has
that,
been watching this program that
yeah,
you and I are talking,
yeah.
not one thing did they say, wow, I didn't know that. No, you knew that. All I did was facilitate your ability to know that you know. I assisted you in finding the light switch to
Yeah.
turn your light on. I did not teach you anything you didn't already know.
So that the embedded in, you just got to switch it on.
That's it. And when you turn your light on, you see everything. But it was always there. Your light just wasn't on. We got to turn the light switch on. And that's what this system is afraid of. They're afraid that we're going to turn our lights on and see exactly the fact that we never needed them.
Yeah. Also our
Don't
diets.
need them. They can't control you.
Yeah. See what we eat as well. This plays a big part. I mean, like I say, a lot of people who have visited in rainforests in Southeast Asia, a lot of the indigenous peoples, even like certain parts of Pacific Islands, mostly people who live in secluded areas where they're still able to practice their spirituality, connect with nature more so.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we've been quite detached from, especially in the dominant society that we live in. And a lot of people seem to gravitate more to cities than they recognize it's greater in the countryside. It's
Yeah.
greater around nature. I mean, we get caught up as being city people. Everyone wants to go to the city,
To work,
where, yeah, to work.
make money. pay the rent, put food on the table.
Yeah, that's right.
The only food that you're eating came from the farm you left.
This is it. It's unbelievable, like how people become so detached.
Yeah,
That's why it's important for like us as humans to go and visit nature, go and
yes,
connect with nature. Different, even if it's a walk in the park, it's still nature,
yeah, yeah.
very important.
There's no doubt. Brother, as we wrap this up, I just wanted to let the community know that, again, you can go to Amazon and you can purchase my book, Carbon Before Melanin. I just published it yesterday, and it's up on Amazon now. And also, just to let you know, in case you're interested in going to Kush, or I should say Kemet, Egypt, I'll be on a tour this summer, June 16th to June 26th. Going to go with another brother from the UK,
Oh yeah.
now living in Ethiopia. His name is Omega Aksal. And if you want more information about this dynamic tour of Kemet, you can go to ancestorswork@gmail.com. ANCESTORSWORK @gmail.com. And you can get more information if you're interested. This is going to be, we're going to be there during the summer solstice. We're going to be in the temple of Edfu, a place called Edfu, the temple of Heru, on June 20th. That temple was built for that date.
Right.
We're going to do a presentation right there in the temple of Edfu on June 20th. But we'll be going to 20 different cities, 20 different sites. We're going to be doing a number of things, and I'm co-hosting as the education consultant to teach classes every day.
Powerful.
So I just look forward to it. My brother James, I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak to our community.
Well, thank you very much.
Because up until you, brother, the Beatles was the only thing I knew coming out of Liverpool. So it's good to know that there's brothers there doing their thing, brother. So thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to the future. We're going to get together again sometime, and we're going to talk about the Moors.
The Moors, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And let me encourage y'all, tune in to MFIT, Dr. Marie Charles.
Wow.
I've got her latest 15th edition.
Wow. I did get a response on the email. So at the moment, she's busy on the schedule, but she said that she will come on the show.
Yeah, I was trying to find one of, I mean, her work is phenomenal, and she's dealing with foundational Black Britain.
It's powerful. I've been watching a lot of lectures.
Oh man, she's got some work. I've been, I've had the opportunity and the privilege of speaking with her over the years, and she is just doing dynamic work.
It's unbelievable.
And I just encourage you to understand how foundationally Black Britain is.
Yeah. Well,
and she's got visuals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's another piece that you might want to consider. So, my brother James, and to the community that is listening to this program, just keep on keeping on. It ain't over till we win.
Thank you very much, Professor Kaba Hiawatha. This is James Diboe, Discovering, dedicated to original peoples as always, and get the book anyway. Before Melanin, and check out these tours. What Professor Kaba's doing. In June 16th, going touring to Egypt. Take advantage of this opportunity rather than maybe you're the beginner at this and you're just going to Egypt. You don't know too much about the direction to go in, but this is the man. He can show you a lot. You will come back with a lot of knowledge. So I want to thank you very much, brother Booker T, Professor Kaba, and we'll do this again. I look forward to the Moors before the Moors.
That's it.
Peace,
Next
my brother.
time, family.
At
All
time
power
anyway.
to the people.
And definitely, I'm representing this city. Like you said, it's only really the Beatles that come out of it, but I'm putting this global African presence on real, like steroids from this city. So I'm really going in anyway. But thank you very much, and we'll see you in episode 3.
Looking forward.
Peace, my brother. One love.
Peace.
Respect.
All power to the people. One love.
All respect. All power. Blessings, my brother. Thank you.